All right, I'm going to address two myths about Tuite, and specifically about, first, like catching Tuite. So frequently I post very specific videos where I'm teaching the technical aspects of the lock, whether it's this position, this position, this position, whatever it is. And a very common myth of Tuite when people watch these videos is you'll never catch the hand. Well, in these instructional videos, or when I'm teaching in a seminar and I only have 40 minutes to teach a few things, I'm teaching the details of the lock, of the joint lock. I'm not going into trying to get the student, who I'm only going to have for a very short time period, or in the video, I'm only going to have them watching it for a very short time period. I'm not going to have the time and detail to make this approach anywhere near realism. That's why people look at it and go, well, you're never going to catch a hand, all right? There are two ways that Taikasei Oyata commonly said you could catch a hand off of a push or a slap, and that is on the rebound. So if he comes up and pushes, and I'm a very novice beginning person, or I was out of position or just caught off guard, I'm not going to catch it palm to palm. What I'm going to catch is the rebound. I'm going to throw my hands up and then get him into the Tuite position. Right? But that's outside the scope of how does this wrist lock work? How does this one work? How does this work? How does this work? So those common myths that you're never going to catch the hand, well, people don't just continually push you to infinity and back, right? They push and then pull their hand back. So with that in mind, I can come out and catch it. The other way that Taika said you commonly could catch a wrist, a hand, was with a little bit more skill once you learn atemi. And what that is the art of pausing. So he goes to push and I slap his belly, I backhand his belly. This stops. It pauses in mid-air. He didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but he went to push, and now I can catch. That's a very common way that Taika got Tuite to work. So both hands I'm covering low and I'm covering high, and his hands, I see his hand coming up, 1, 2. That's a common way people push. They don't push this way. They bring their hands here and out. The second he brings his hand there, then I'm causing that pause and then coming up. The second myth I want to address is the 2-on-1 equals defeat. People will tell you if you've got two hands on their one, you're going to lose because they got that hand free to beat you senseless. All right? I've done other videos on Taika's principle of fighting a one-armed man. First and foremost, again, we're talking basic principles. When you're first learning the things, your opponent in the dojo is not really an opponent. They're just your manipulation toy. His job is to present a hand to me so that I can figure out the angles, what angles work, how to do the bunny hop, all these other principles. Again, I'm not approaching realism. But in a real situation, if I go up and I'm just focused here, yes, he can do things with that hand. But if I've learned all those other principles first, I can turn his hip away from me, and now that arm is too far away to beat me senseless. So as he comes up, if I've got a decent skill, I did two things there. I stepped farther away from that hand, I stepped to the outside, plus I put the bind here, which made him take that step away. Now he's too far away to do anything with that hand. Before we get to that level, we teach the basic principles, but then we start dealing with as one hand's going up, as I'm maybe doing my ateme to make the pause, I'm coming up to guard against that other hand. Again, not at the basic level when they're first learning the skill. So if my hand comes up, my initial goal is to get ateme and come here, but that other hand comes like it's going to punch, I've got a hand to cover. Just because the end goal is here, that's really step 3. Step 1, ateme, step 2, cover with this hand, and then 3, get back to do the 2-on-1. If I do that same motion, coming up, I get ateme, I come up, this hand comes, I've covered it, I throw it down, and now it's no longer a problem for me. If for whatever reason I did that same motion and I came up maybe on the outside, right? Then I continue, I tie it up, and then I get the joint lock. So you learn the joint lock first, and then you start learning the other covers and things to try to make you get as close to a realistic encounter. But you're never going to get a realistic encounter unless you learn all the little principles first. Baby steps. One thing, then another, and then you'll get to the point to where you can use Tuite in a realistic encounter.